Great Pumpkin Pie by Franz. I tend to think of a butler as a jack of all trades. You never know what will be required of you tomorrow. Technically, it is not my job to cook or clean or do house chores, but it is hard to supervise staff unless you have hands-on experience with each task. Besides, you never know what might happen. Staff comes and goes, and some of them are not as competent as others. In the end, my only job as a butler is to make sure that my masters and mistresses are well cared for and can go about their day without any trivial interruptions. This one job sometimes requires me to become a cook, a delivery boy, a repairman, or even a chambermaid. You get used to putting out fires, sometimes literally, and landing with all kinds of unexpected chores. I've done a lot of things in the Roswell family employ that took me well outside my normal job description. Cook a 12-course banquet in under 3 hours, with the cook and her helpers having nervous breakdowns over a missed supply shipment? Done that. Paint and redecorate a bedroom for an unexpected visit from a member of the royal family? Done that too. Fix a leak in the roof? Muck the manure in the stables? Replace a broken wheel on a heavily loaded ox cart and guide it through knee-deep mud during the spring floods? I'm your man. Some butlers would probably turn down those jobs, but I didn't mind. Having things in the manor run smoothly no matter what seemed worth it. Fending for myself in the island's wilderness felt relaxing compared to an average day at Roswell Manor. After I joined Castaway Village, I really enjoyed not being in charge for a change, and I observed that having an occasional taste of home made Lady Laxia happy. I would never admit this to her, but this was my main reason for cooking this pumpkin pie, Lord Roswell's holiday favorite. Seeing her smile and get emotional when she ate it was worth everything. Ingredients: honey, pumpkin. On Seiren, the pumpkins were of a smaller variety, opposite to the monsters we have back home. Lady Laxia once observed that the animal species on the Isle of Seiren tend to grow large. Vegetables were definitely the opposite. We used 2 small pumpkins for 1 pie. If you follow this recipe at home, you should scale up your pie to your pumpkins, if you know what I mean. Seiren wheat, or flour in common terms. Sweet pepper. For 1 large pie, use 1 medium-sized pumpkin, 1 1/2 cup of flour, 2 large eggs, 1 cup of honey, 1 medium bell pepper, yellow, red, or orange. Makes 8 to 10 servings. Directions: bake the pumpkin over a slow fire. There are 2 ways to do it. At home, I used to cut the pumpkin into halves, scoop out the seeds, and bake it in the oven until soft. On Seiren, I found that baking the whole pumpkin over the coals works too. When the outside skin turns brown, take the pumpkin off the fire and let it cool down before proceeding with the recipe. Mix eggs and water and add flour to form a thick dough. Roll it into a sheet to make the crust. Meralda has a thing about eggs and how precious they are, so when writing recipes, we were only allowed to include them in a few dishes. This is why eggs are not on my list of picture ingredients. Coat a pan with oil and sculpt the sheet of dough around the bottom and sides of the pan in a thin layer. Bake on medium heat until the crust is stiff and golden brown and set aside. By now, the baked pumpkin should be cool enough to handle. Cut it open, scoop out the seeds, can be eaten separately later, then scoop out the soft pumpkin flesh into a bowl. Make sure to scrape off all the soft parts. Not a good idea to waste pumpkin. At this point, if the pumpkin flesh is still too firm to mash, it could be baked for a bit longer. Set aside a few pumpkin chunks for decoration. Mash up the rest in a bowl until it forms a homogeneous paste. Add honey and stir in evenly. You should add enough to make the mixture medium sweet, or up to individual taste. Chop up sweet peppers into very small pieces and stir-fry them with honey, to about the same sweetness as the pumpkin mash. The peppers should form a sweet, chunky paste. Peppers are my own addition. I don't think any other pumpkin pie recipes use this ingredient. I thought of it because I know how much Lady Laxia likes frosting, but there was no cream or butter to make a proper one. I probably could have used berries or fruit, but somehow the honey-sweetened peppers seemed like the right taste for the dish. But you should feel free to omit them if you want. Scoop the pumpkin mash into the crust and flatten out the top. Bake for about 10 minutes. Spread the pepper paste thinly over the top of the pie. Decorate with baked pumpkin chunks cut into nice-looking cubes or slices. Spread a thin layer of honey over the top. This is also the time to decorate the pie with fresh berries, if you want it to look like it does in the picture. I did that sometimes, but did not include it in the recipe. Bake for another few minutes until the honey topping forms a thin golden crust. Cool off and serve.